All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are going to now get into talking about the Bills Broncos game and how that game unfolded. The Bills, well, they pretty much dominated this game, excluding the first drive by the Broncos. They win 31-7. And yeah, excluding the first drive, because the Broncos got the ball to start the game, and they went up 7-0. Bo Nix hits Troy Franklin for that long touchdown, and you thought, okay, Broncos came to play today. And then from that point on, the Bills took over. And again, this was the game I was most intrigued by going into the weekend because the Broncos were coming in with momentum, and I wanted to see what this team had in them to take on the Bills in that environment, and Josh Allen, who is up for the MVP. And like I said, got off to a great start. But after that, the Bills took over, and they did not look back. And the Broncos were still in this game in the first half, even with, them only scoring 7 points. Now, they had an opportunity to score more. Brandon McManus, nope, not Brandon McManus, Will Lutz, sorry, McManus we talked about already, and former Bronco, I get it. But they had a chance to at least make it 10-10 going into the half. But Will Lutz, he ended up missing a 50-yard field goal. And it looked like it was going to go in, but, the wind was a factor here, and it just ended up hitting off the upright, and they ended up missing. And at that point, I thought, yeah, this is not looking good for the Broncos. But, yeah, so this is what happened after their first drive. They go up 7-0. The Bills, the Broncos defense did a great job. They held the Bills out of the end zone, held them to 3 points. So that was big. But then after that, Broncos punted. Bills scored a touchdown. That was a James Cook 5-yard touchdown to make it 10-7. But yeah, Broncos punted before that drive. They punted again and then a missed field goal. Then the Bills got the ball to start the second half. They kicked a field goal. Broncos punted. It was just all punts and turnover on downs. They actually only had 4 possessions in the second half. The Bills sustained drives. See, that's what I was saying about the Broncos. What the Broncos needed to do in this game was sustain drives. And they didn't do that. The Bills did. And they just pulled ahead and did not look back. You had Josh Allen connecting with Ty Johnson for a 24-yard touchdown. That was on 4th and 1. I don't know how Ty Johnson was able to stay in bounds. He caught the ball in the back of the end zone, and he was able to keep, his legs in bounds. Didn't touch out of bounds, I guess, until, he had possession of the ball. It was a great play by Josh Allen and a good catch by Ty Johnson. That ended up being a touchdown. They went for 2. They got it to Keon Coleman. And then you had the long touchdown to Curtis Samuel for 55 yards. And then they tacked on a field goal in the fourth quarter, and it was 31-7. Bo Nix went 13 of 22 for 144 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. They actually went for a fake punt, and they got it. That was it was in the first half. That was I forget when it happened, but you thought, okay, that was so it was 4th and 8. They went for it on 4th and 8 with the fake punt. This was in the second quarter, and they got it. 15-yard pass from Riley Dixon to Marvin Mims. So that got them into Bills territory, but they just couldn't really do anything with the ball after that, and there was no fake punt after that when they had to punt again. But yeah, Bo Nix went 13 of 22 for 144 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. Like I said, Riley Dixon, he completed the 1 pass for 15 yards. Broncos only 79 yards rushing in this game. Bo Nix was their leading rusher. They just could not get anything going on the ground. They had, besides Bo Nix, you had 4 other players carry the ball at least once in the game. They just could not get anything going on the ground, and that was something important. That was something that they needed to establish in this game to try to slow it down a bit, this matchup, but it didn't happen. So that's one area that they're going to have to address in the offseason. Cortland Sutton, 5 receptions for 75 yards. There were some drop passes in this game. He had a drop in this game that he should have caught. Some other players as well had drops. And some of them could have led to interceptions too. But yeah, they just that was a little bit of an issue. Broncos defense, 2 sacks of Josh Allen in this game, who went 20 of 26 for 272 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Bills ran the ball for over 200 yards, 210 yards in total. James Cook had 120 yards on the ground. Josh Allen, 46 yards on the ground. Ty Johnson, 44 yards on the ground. Ray Davis actually got hurt in this game. He had 1 carry for 3 yards. Curtis Samuel, their leading receiver, 3 receptions for 68 yards and a touchdown. Khalil Shakir, 6 for 61. Dalton Kincaid, 3 for 47. Dawson Knox, 2 for 38. Bills defense, 2 sacks of Bo Nix in this game. You had in the game Teron Johnson. He got hurt in this game, one of their top corners, but he was able to come back in, so that was good to see that. But the Bills defense played well here, and like I said, they will be taking on the Ravens next week, which could be the game of the year. And the Bills, they had the ball for pretty much the whole game. They possessed the ball for over 41 minutes. You know how many? You know how long the Broncos possessed the ball for? 18 minutes. The Bills 26 first downs to the Broncos 13 first downs. Broncos went 2 for 9 on third down. Bills went 8 for 15. And the Broncos had 224 yards in total in this game. The Bills had almost 500. They had 471 yards. Broncos ran 42 plays. Bills ran 72. Yeah, the Bills, after that first drive by the Broncos that led to a touchdown, it was just all Bills. And again, not surprised by that. I mean, I was kind of hoping for the Broncos to be a little bit more competitive in this game, but it just didn't happen. The Bills are just the better team. They got the better quarterback. And Bo Nix, I think, has a bright future. I don't want to knock him by saying that, but right now Josh Allen is playing out of this world. And right now, nobody's stopping him until we get to, next week and maybe the week after. Because, you could make the argument, well, right now nobody's stopping Lamar Jackson. Well, one of them is going to stop the other. And then we'll see what happens in the other matchup between the Chiefs and the Texans. But odds are, whoever wins that, we will find out where whoever wins that game, where they'll be playing, because Texans-Chiefs is on Saturday. So, but listen, credit to the Broncos, though, for getting this far. I've said it multiple times over the last couple of weeks, giving them props. I did not expect them to make the playoffs this year. I didn't expect them to be that good of a team, but credit to Sean Payton. Bo Nix, got off to a little bit of a rough start to the season, but as the season progressed, he got better and better, and I do think the Broncos can build off of this season. And, there's some areas where they could definitely improve, more specifically on the offense. And I think once they do that, Bo Nix in year 2, they could find themselves back in the same situation. So the Broncos got a bright future ahead of them. So I know it didn't go the way they wanted it to in this game. I would have liked to have seen them be a little bit more competitive, but, that just didn't happen. The Bills right now, they're one of the top teams in the NFL. So this was a tall task to go in there and try to upset them. But some people thought they would. I just was not one of those people. I thought maybe they could keep it a little bit close, but that didn't happen either. So, yeah, they're going home. Bills, they move on. They will be hosting the Ravens. So we did see these two teams play each other earlier in the year, and the Ravens dominated that game in Baltimore. Derrick Henry had almost 200 yards rushing. So we'll see what happens in this matchup coming up, but I cannot wait for that game. That is going to be one heck of a matchup. The top 2 MVP candidates going at it, and we will preview that game on Friday. Maybe we sprinkle in, another topic before, we get into who I think is going to win, even though if you saw my video on my playoff bracket, you kind of know where I'm leaning towards. But either way, that game is going to be a great game, and I cannot wait for it. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think, though, about the Bills-Broncos game. What were your takeaways from it, and, any early thoughts on the Bills-Ravens game for Sunday, which Like I keep saying, I cannot wait for that game. That is going to be a lot of fun to watch that. So we are going to take our final break of the show now, and then when we come back, we will talk about the Texans Chargers game. That's the final game that we have not gotten to yet. We will talk about that to finish off the show here, how that game unfolded, and yeah, that'll take us to the end of the show. And yeah, so make sure to stick around for one final time. And we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.